Good morning, seniors. This week is looking at life in the trenches. Now, it's a big piece of work, so this should take you this week and probably some, if not all, of next week. But I will upload some source practice questions next Monday, just in case you get this project finished this week. Now, life in the trenches is such an interesting topic, and I'm going to talk you through very briefly because I don't want to spoil it and I don't want to be talking at you for too long, because I want you to really take your time to look at all the information that I'm giving you by yourselves. I've given you a lot of YouTube videos and I've given you a few websites, 3 websites, for you to look and become really familiar with what life in the trenches was like for soldiers. Now, as a little starter, you should take a little look at this, or these 2 images here. Now, what we've got is a German soldier and we've got your typical British soldier. Now, all I'd like you to do is note down 3 or 4 differences that you can see between the German soldier and the British soldier. Now, it can be their uniform or their weapons that they've got, anything that you notice that is similar. So 4 differences and 4 similarities. So 4 differences and 4 similarities that you can spot between the German soldier and the British soldier. Once you've done that, I'd like you to think about what you already know about life in the trenches and bear that in mind. And what we're going to be looking at over the next week or 2 weeks is life and conditions in the trenches for soldiers. Now, your 2 learning intentions are to describe what life in the trenches was like for soldiers of World War I and to explain the impact living in the trenches had on the life of the soldiers. Now, this word impact means how did life in the trenches affect soldiers? How did it affect them physically? How did it affect them mentally? So those are our 2 learning intentions for this week. Very briefly, I'm going to run through some of the more common things that you may remember from your project in S1 or S2 about World War I. Now, there are little YouTube links, ignore them. They're all in a document that I'm also going to upload as a PDF because you'll need that document to carry out your project. Now, in the trenches, there was an awful smell of decaying dead bodies, so rotten bodies that had been there for weeks at a time. As well as this smell of the dead bodies, you had these open toilets or latrines, and you can imagine already if someone in your household goes to the loo and you go in after them, unfortunately, then you can imagine the smell, but times it by 100. Now, as well as dealing with the smells of the trenches that we can't really replicate, and you can't view a smell through a video or an image, you did have these awful conditions that were muddy, that were wet because of the rain, that were freezing cold because of the frost in winter, and it was also pretty boring in terms of the food that soldiers would get. They would get bully beef, which is kind of like corned beef, bread, jam. Those are some of the main staples of the war. They also had to deal with vermin. Now, these were animals like lice, body lice, rats, huge rats, and some have described the rats as being the size of cats. They were so big and they were so fat as they were feeding on the flesh of the dead, decaying bodies of the soldiers. You would also have clouds of flies in the summer. You know what it's like here with the midges and the sorts of flies. If it's hot, it can be annoying. Again, times it by 100, and that's what you've got in the trenches. The muddy conditions often led to trench foot, and I'll come back to that in a little minute. And you had the boredom of everyday life, cleaning your weapons, filling the sandbags, your basic food rations. It wasn't a particularly exciting life in the trenches. As well as the boredom though, and you'll see this in a video, the soldiers did manage to have some fun. We always focus on the really awful stuff in the trenches, but I have put in a video link that's really great and showing you what the soldiers' life was like when they were having a bit of fun, when they were joking around with their mates and trying to make the best of a bad situation. Now, they also had the constant fear of death, and this would lead to shell shock, and again there's a video on that, and I'll talk about that very briefly. And they had censorship of letters, where they couldn't tell their loved ones at home much about what they were experiencing because they had to make sure they weren't giving away their location, they weren't giving away any battle plans that they were aware of. Now, I mentioned vermin and lice and body lice, and these are these little guys here. Now, body lice would live on your body, obviously, and the seams of any of your clothing. So for the Scots soldiers and their kilts, the lining of their kilts, and the lining of their jackets, that's where these body lice would live, and they would cause awful lot of blood spots and itching on your body. Now, a lot of men would spend time chatting, and this is where the phrase chatting comes from, and they would be popping the little lice with their matches or flames or picking them off their seams of their clothes. And here's a wonderful image of soldiers doing just that, sitting around chatting while sorting their clothes out and trying to clean them off this body lice. Rats sort of turned into some sort of sport. There would be competitions about who could catch the biggest rats, and they would hang them from washing lines, because really, where else would you put them? And it would appear in newspapers as kind of ratting, the new sport in the trenches. And you can imagine how many rats they'd have to deal with. Trench foot and trench mouth was an awful condition. It would affect your feet. Here we go here, and this is an extreme case. And here's a poor guy here with some trench foot and a trench mouth, which would basically rot away your limbs and your teeth and your gums. And there was propaganda campaigns and poster campaigns that were saying keep feet dry and clean to prevent trench foot. So that was again some of the conditions that soldiers had to live in and cope with. Dangers and fears. Now again, I've put a video about shell shock. This is a screenshot of what shell shock is. I'm not going to go into that too much because I want you to kind of learn about it yourself. Obviously you've got diseases, cholera, typhus, dysentery caused by the dirty conditions. You'd have death, and you would have pretty severe wounds from gas attacks, sniper attacks, shell, heavy bombardment that would blow off limbs, and that would cause ultimately death. So again, there's some videos I've put in the other document that will make this a little bit clearer. Now here's your challenge. Your learning intention I've just gone through is to describe what life in the trenches was like for soldiers of World War I and to explain the impact living in the trenches had on the life of soldiers. Now, this challenge is going to be a project, and it can take any form you like, and I'll give you some ideas on the next slide. However, as you are familiar with, it's bronze, silver, gold. I would like you all to aim for gold, please, because you're all capable. If you're struggling with parts of gold, don't worry, there is silver and there is bronze. This is on the bigger document, the PDF, which I'll attach on the website underneath this video, so you will need to download that as a PDF. You should all be able to access it. PDFs open on everything, smartphones, tablets, laptops. Now, I've included a lot of website resources. Please watch these YouTube videos in the order they're here. So you've got all the YouTube videos here, and it will take quite a bit of time just watching them. So please spend some time watching the videos. There are some fantastic interviews. There's some primary footage of what life was like in the trenches. There's some great documentaries. They're really interesting. So please take the time to watch all of these in the order that I've laid them out here. You might want to use headings for your notes because I want you to take notes on each video so you've got information that you can pull together. Your headings could be daily routine, everyday life for soldiers, living conditions, food, diseases, vermin and animals, military discipline, how was order kept in the trenches, death and mental health. These videos, all of these here, they will give you information that falls under some, all, or only one or two of these headings. So please watch. After you've watched the videos, down here is a list of websites that you can read more about life in the trenches. Do not copy and paste information. Put it in your own words. I don't want to read the website's words, I want to read your words. And I know that you're all capable of doing that. Now again, this document is bigger and you can click on all these links directly using the PDF article. Now, your project can take a variety of forms. An essay, a cartoon strip, 7-day diary entry, so pretending that you're a soldier. You can do a PowerPoint, you can do a YouTube video, You can do a podcast or some sort of audio if you want to just speak your answers. You can do a poster. You can do a model of a trench if you're feeling creative, label it with all the sorts of information that you need, or anything else you want to do. Be creative. This is your project. I would love to see a variety of things on conditions in the trenches. Now, just as a reminder, this is your overarching aim, to describe what life in the trenches was like for soldiers, be as detailed as possible, follow the bronze, silver, gold, aim for gold, and to explain the impact living in the trenches had on the life of soldiers. So, how did the conditions in the trenches and what they face in the trenches affect their lives? Have fun with this, it's dead interesting. There are some films that I'll put up on the website later in the week. Not many on Netflix, unfortunately, so I'll try and find a few. Some of you may be able to access them, and that will give you more information for your project. Don't limit yourself to the stuff in gold. Even though gold says that you have to describe at least 5 things, don't limit yourself to 5. If you want to put in more, please put in more information. Okay, that's it for me this week. I'm going to upload this, and I will hopefully see some projects coming in. You can put it on Teams, do it on your OneNote, email me it. If you have any questions, as always, please come and speak to me. I will be available tomorrow between 11 and 12 on Teams. I chatted to 2 of you last week, which was great. And if any of you want to come on, ask for help, then I can give you a help. Have a good week, enjoy, and I'll chat to you later.